I've got bad news for anybody who wants to use the Apple AI features with Apple Intelligence and doesn't have an iPhone 15 Pro because you're not going to get it. Apple announced today the Apple Intelligence, the new AI for their phones, is coming out with iOS 18. Of course, they've got the developer preview. You can check some of that stuff out. It'll be here officially in September, but the only phone that's currently available that can take advantage of it is the iPhone 15 Pro series. So the 15 Pro and the 15 Pro Max. So for everybody else, Apple just said, screw you. Sorry, I'm so used to Google screwing people over. It's Apple who's continuing to screw people over. So this kind of irks me, but at the same time, it makes sense. And I think there's one reason why you're not going to see this with the previous Apple devices, and it's part of a long-term Apple strategy that is now turning out to be problematic. So this isn't like with Samsung, where Samsung came out with AI and then they gave it to us for the few past previous generations. They could do that. Why? Because, well, Samsung's been using a minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM with their flagship phones and even lesser phones for years. Whereas we've been hearing this for a long time. Apple doesn't need 8 gigabytes of RAM. Apple doesn't need 6 gigs of RAM. Apple doesn't need 12. It's so efficient. It can do all these great things. Well, now that it needs to do AI, it cannot do them because it doesn't have enough RAM. And we've seen this. We've seen even limitations with 8 gigabytes of RAM depending on the chip. So like if you look at the Google Pixel 8a and the Google Pixel 8, they have 8 gigs of RAM versus the 12 and the Pro, and that even presents problems. Even Google and one of their engineers came out and said there was hardware limitations, and we've deduced that that's because of the 8 gigabytes of RAM, because it just doesn't have enough RAM to be able to run these large language models quickly, efficiently, or give you the results that you need to get. Well, if you take a look at the iPhone 14 Pro Max, it has 6 gigabytes of RAM. It doesn't have 8. So even the iPhone 14 Pro Max that's a year old can't handle the Apple Intelligence stuff. So you're going to have to buy a new phone for almost everybody. Only people that have the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max are going to be able to use this when it comes out. You're going to have to buy an iPhone 16 series phone. Now, you might be saying, well, is this going to be limited to the iPhone 16 Pro? No, it shouldn't be. And this is something I think we can basically guarantee at this point, which is a hidden Easter egg. The iPhone 16, we know that the 15 uses the 14 Pro chip from last year. Well, the 15 Pro, it's got the new chip on, I believe the A17 Bionic. When we get the new one with the iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max, the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus will use the chip that the iPhone 15 Pro had. It's basically the same phone. So there you'll have that capability. You can take advantage of these AI features, which there's some pretty cool stuff that's coming along with that. And I made another video about that, which you can see right here, and go check that out for the top 12 AI features coming to iOS 18. But you're going to miss out on those. And I know, I get this every time I say something bad about a Google phone, or every time I say something about a Samsung phone. You know, a lot of people think that AI is a gimmick. It's not applicable to them. It's not something that they care about. We've never had it before, so why do we need it now? Why, like, is my phone really obsolete if I don't have it? And the answer is no. I mean, you don't have to use the AI stuff. And I know a lot of people don't trust it because they see all the stuff out there on the internet. They talk about, OpenAI, ChatGPT. Where's this information going? Stuff people can see. Can you trust the people that are making this stuff? And then you look at it on your phone and you're like, I don't feel comfortable with this. So I do think there is a certain amount of goodwill that these companies need to do to try and make sure people are on the same page, or where privacy and safety implications of using it. But across the board, I think the AI stuff is good. It's neat to have some of this stuff, and not just in the whole, oh, you can do your photo processing, or you can use the photo editor to make a picture look different. There's a lot of nice stuff you can do in there, like voice to text, or smart replies and suggestions, summarization of conversations, the phone assistant that you get with Google. There's so many different things that AI enables us to do with these phones. Live translation for phone calls with Samsung, or being able to use the translator function with Samsung with their Samsung Galaxy AI. There's some really cool stuff, and we want everybody to have that, and it's just frustrating. And you're going to see a much more inclusive environment with this with Apple because of how they've done business for so long. All the time they're like, oh, we only need 2 gigs of RAM. We only need 3. We only need 4. And for a lot of things that was true. But then you come into this new world where you need these massive amounts or larger amounts of RAM, particularly ideally 12, because even if you look at Google with Gemini Nano AI, they have two different models, one for lower memory devices, which is 8 gigs, and then they have one for higher amounts of RAM, which is 12. So that's the problem we run into now. You look at the Google Pixel 8, it can only use Gemini Nano AI in developer mode because apparently the Tensor 3 is not that great whenever it comes to handling AI stuff, despite the purpose it was intended for. But anyway, that's another story. This is an Apple video. So yeah, it's kind of frustrating that so many people are going to be left behind because there's billions of iPhones out there, and only people who have the Pro and the Pro Max series for the 15 are going to be able to take advantage of it and use it. So yeah, it's kind of sucky. I mean, I feel sorry for people who were interested in this, and they're going to have to go out and buy a new phone. And I just also have to wonder if this is another level of planned obsolescence, because I was frustrated when the new iPad Pros came out, and they've got the new Apple Pencil Pro, but you can't use it with the previous generation iPad Pros. You've got the new Magic Keyboard. You can't use it with the previous versions of the iPad Pro. You've got the new Apple Intelligence. It's not working with other phones. You basically, if you care about this and you're still in your, like, let's say you're in your payment plan cycle, right? Let's say you bought an iPhone 14 Pro Max a year and a half ago. You've still got another year and a half to pay for that sucker. You're going to have to go out and upgrade it. Or what if you paid cash money and you went and you bought it and you want to take advantage of these features? You're going to have to buy a new phone. Even so recently as the iPhone 15. Like, there's a distinction. The 15 and the 15 Plus don't get it, but the 15 Pro and the Pro Max do. So it's one of those things where I feel like this didn't just show up overnight. Apple has been working on this, I'm sure, for a long time, especially if you look at the level of integration and all the stuff that it requires with Siri, with the chip, with the on-device AI, and all that stuff. Yeah, it really is kind of a crappy thing. And I know that Android needs basically 8 gigabytes of RAM. Maybe Apple could do it with 6, but here's the thing. Apple is always experience first. They want everything to be smooth and seamless and painless whenever you're using stuff. It would be unacceptable to them to run something in a developer mode to give somebody access to it at their choice, because then somebody would get the perception that they were using it on that phone and it wasn't as good as it could be. So that's pretty much, like, I don't believe we'll ever see these AI features on any previous phone. And you can look at what they've said with what they said it's compatible with, and it's iPhone 15 Pro, Pro Max, and newer. So I think half of this could have been avoided if Apple actually cared about its customers more. But they want to use every opportunity that they can to get more people to buy more products, even though many people just bought a phone a year ago. Many people just bought a phone 2 years ago, and it's kind of crappy because your phone's going to be supported for 5, 6, 7 years, and you'll never be able to use these features. So it's very, very frustrating because you could be using the same phone for 5 years from now, and if you got a 15 Pro Max, you can use these cool features, but if you got a 15 or a 14 Pro Max, like, you're just left out in the wind. So that's all I got. I just wanted to talk about that, let you know what's coming, because I don't want you to show up, iOS 18 gets here in September, and you're like, hey, where are these AI features? And, well, you don't have them. So that's all I got in this video. If you have any questions or comments, please go to the comment section. I'll do my best to get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, if you found this helpful, if you like the Apple content, let me know. I'll try and make more of it. Sound off in the comment section. Hit the subscription button if you like this stuff and all that jazz. But that's all I got. As always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.